Okay, great. So, welcome everyone to our introduction to light body meditation, our awakening series for 2025. It's basically great to see some folks here, and we're looking forward to having a nice group in our 2025 course. So, I'm Wendy Lang. You can probably tell by my name in the corner. And this is Sharon Lees. And
Hi, everyone.
yeah, so um, practicing. Um, I've been practicing light body meditation since the mid 90s, I think 95. How about you, Sharon?
Yeah, I've been around since about 92. Yeah,
Great. Yes, we have lots of experience.
yeah.
It's almost like you don't want to say how much between us,
Yeah.
like that's a
Yeah.
lot if you add it all together.
Yes.
Plus, we've both done quite a bit of teaching. So I was teaching it back in the 90s. And how long have you been teaching?
I was teaching back in the 90s too, and I did some in the 2000s, and then I had a period where I wasn't doing any teaching.
Right. Well, you're glad to have you back teaching. So,
Thank you. Yeah, it's good
yeah,
to be back.
yeah, great. Okay. Okay. So, you are all here. You're interested in light body meditation. So, that's what we're about. We want to give you an introduction to it, give you a sense of what it is, why we do it, and how we think it would benefit you if you learned it as well. So, yeah, so I'll start, I guess. Um, it's so important to me. It's definitely, if you do this work, it changes who you are. And And so it has become a part of me. So the expanded consciousness that you develop through the light body is something that affects all of your life. It changes the way that you look at the world, the way that you experience the world. And it makes it um, sort of more open, more a greater perspective. So you experience deeper truths. You are able to have more peace and calm in your life. The world is not as daunting a place. The world makes more sense um, when you work with these energies. So just a little bit. So what would you like to say, Sharon?
Well,
I'm just
I,
going to
I
add
love
some
the
light while you're talking. So please go ahead.
I love the way that the light body has given me ways to access the highest parts of myself at a soul level. And it's given me the tools to operate from these spaces and places and make it meaningful in my everyday life. So I'm able to add light to my thoughts, to my emotions, frequencies of light to my environment, and really to every aspect of my life. And all that love and higher truth and expanded awareness from heightened insights you receive in the light body spaces, the peace, the joy, the trust. I enjoy carrying that with me and in me, and it makes me more magnetic to situations and people that put me in the higher flow and of course, that's wonderful. The spaces that you can carry with you. And it's allowed me to get to know and sense myself as a soul, as a being of light. So the light body actually is about embodying yourself as a soul here on Earth plane. And there's quite a range of expanded experiences and states of consciousness that it takes you to. So I really enjoy the fact that um, although we have five physical senses, the light body itself is a whole other sensory system that takes me into this inner kingdom. Um, it's a realm that um, is very, very illumined and powerful, and it gives me emotional stability, fluidity, meaning I don't get trapped in emotions that are negative and anxieties and other things, and mental fluidity, so that I don't get caught up um, in and trapped in repetitive thoughts or things like that. There's a whole lot of tools that go with these spaces that I've been able to integrate into my everyday life. And it tends to take you out of the ego realm of judgment and the perspectives that you were conditioned to see life from. So I might use a journey, for instance, like staying neutral. If I have a situation of challenge or conflict, it could be as simple as my 92-year-old mother with beginning dementia, who may be getting demanding. So I'm able to work with her from light body spaces, to link with her on the inner planes at a soul level, to send transmit energies of light by holding myself as radiant as I can in these high spaces. And I've seen the shifts. Things will happen so that um, she's functioning. Opportunities are coming up for her. She might bump into another lady in the hall at her home and be perfectly content that I'm busy and not able to be with her, or just simple things. Life can be very simple, yet profound, because you're not on the treadmill that the ego spaces will keep you in. Um, so the light body generally has given me a whole new range of tools. And it is a toolkit. And I think one of the key things that has kept me at it for the last 35, 37 years is that it's ever expanding. You're always evolving and growing, and the centers only take you higher and higher. The thing about the light body is that you really still carry within you your old thought processes, your old um, modalities of being. So you're constantly making a choice. Am I going to use these skills and identify with who I am at a soul level and rise higher and add light and bring light? Or am I going to forget about them and not use them and be in my old ways of functioning and being? But the ultimate goal of Light Body is that you are able to remain in those spaces and they become almost automatic, so that you naturally and automatically go towards and resonate with, you're there, what's higher. Um, yeah, so basically, that's it. I have a few more points, but go ahead, Wendy.
Yes. So it's it allows you to really, as Sharon says, really become more the embodiment of who you truly are. You become more the embodiment of your soul. So that is what we came here for. And so this is a wonderful practice to help you become that, to really be that. And there are many tools here to help you be that, to become that. And and these tools are shifting who you are. They're shifting your consciousness and making your consciousness and making who you are more a being of light. And so light comes into who you are. So this allows you to be this greater light in the world, and to be ultimately in the service of the world, because that's being a light is a way of being in service. Um, it helps you to be more grounded. So even though it's going up high, it's also about being grounded and being in the world. And so our meditations are a mix of going way out there, and then we have a whole other meditations that are very much about working with your personality and um, transforming in that way. And so, and those are wonderful meditations. Those are the Oren meditations by Sanaya Roman. And so those ones, and you can always go back to them. They never get old. So this form of meditation, Light Body, was sort of birthed by Dwayne Packer and Sanaya Roman back in the 80s, in the late 80s. And you think, well, that's kind of old, but there are other old forms of meditation. But the thing with this is that it's because it was really channeled and brought in by these beings of light, that they're still here. And so as time goes on and progresses, these meditations are different. The energies that come through them are always new, because it's as if the meditations are like doorways into these other realms, and they're living. So the meditations and the recordings that you get are really live. They're living, and they are sort of full of transmitting energy coming from these higher worlds. And so it's interesting for those of us who've done it for a long time, that what we listen to, you know, maybe 25 years ago is not the same as what we're listening to now. That the energies, and when they were brought through, they said these energies are always going to be updating and changing and evolving, and they really are. And so it's really fun to teach this basic series, because it's very, very different from how it would have been experienced when I was first 25 years ago teaching it. So, so it's really wonderful. It's magical. Um, anyway, but it's grounding, helps you be grounded and stable, um, helps you to become more sort of in tune with your world and your life, and get in touch with what you want to create in your world, instead of being in touch with what you don't want to create in your world. um, and anything else you want to add to that? Well, I think to that, maybe I will. Yeah, it's an amazing series. I just might as well move into why and how I got into it, and then I'll have Sharon share that. And so I had been doing a lot of forms of meditation over many years before this. In the 80s, I guess I started my first meditation experiences in the 70s. And I had been a teacher of Taoist meditative practices. So I've been teaching those energetic meditations and that whole spiritual approach. Also been to India and studied Advaita meditation with a teacher there. And that was also a very wonderful experience, and had practiced some other forms of like Buddhist meditation and things like that. And And so that had a, though they all had a certain flavor to them. And then when I was just started to live with my late partner, who practiced this and who was very close to the founders, to Sine Roman and Dwayne Packer, and he was good friends with them, and had been there in the very beginning when it was first being created, and they'd experimented with a few people, and so he was very connected to this, and I thought it was really interesting, but there was an event in locally where I live, and some of the people who studied came back to our house, and they were all talking, and I was listening to them talk, and I could feel their energies were accessing when they were talking about worlds that were really amazing. And I was quite fascinated. And more than that, I just knew, I had an inner knowing that I wanted this. Like this was like this is my next step. I want to be able to connect into these realms that they're talking about, where they're going. And so once I decided that, I devoured every seminar up until then. Kind of like I was doing like 3 hours of this stuff a day, just because sometimes when I get into something, I really get into it. And it was fantastic. It was like once I started it, I had started, but I had started with these very advanced meditations, and I noticed that there were sounds, and I could always feel things coming and shifts coming, and but I didn't really understand the language, so I had to go back to square one and then start and make my way through it all, and um, and that was wonderful, and obviously, I came to embrace it all. So that's how I started, and yeah, with the support of my late partner, Philip. And we taught together for quite a few years because he had already been teaching it for quite a while. So, Sharon, how did you
Yeah, I,
come
I,
across
I
this?
was wondering if I could just go back a bit before I
Sure,
tell my story, and talk a little bit more about the light body meditation.
sure.
So when Sanaya and Dwayne started the light body work, they were told by their guides that, and this is 3 decades ago, 3.5 decades ago, that enormous changes were coming to humanity, and that it was time for humanity um, to take a major evolutionary leap. And what was happening was a spiritual shimmer had started to emerge in the auras of the collective of humanity. And so that people were going to be able to reach higher and higher states of consciousness and levels of function and beingness that could lead to enlightenment. And this was becoming possible for the masses, for many people. And they were told, they worked with two guides. Sanaya worked with Orrin and Deben, that their work over the coming years was to introduce people to the techniques and tools that would raise them into being able to connect with the light of their souls and to be able to bring back those tools of light that we talked about in order to shift and evolve the world here and their own lives. And so Dwayne was directed to certain power spots on the earth that contain the frequencies that would open the vibrational energy centers and the light body centers. And those power spots um, would contain the same frequencies that the whole of Earth would eventually contain, and probably does at this point, which is why there is so much change and tumultuous energy, because as more and more light comes in, systems change, things change as they're raised up um, into the higher light, as the darkness is brought to the light. Um, so I think that one of the reasons the world is changing so much now um, has to do with the amount of light. And a lot of people are feeling that they're kind of left behind, that there's so much going on. It's going at a faster pace. And there are so many uncertainties, whether it's with the economy or jobs or the government or social values changing. Everything's happening so rapidly um, that if you are someone who works with clients or just even in your own life, you can really utilize the light body energies and skills to keep pace and to be able to rapidly evolve yourself to match those changes. So I just wanted to add that in. And in terms of my story, yeah, I was also involved in other spiritual paths and teachings from quite a young age. And I I got involved in the light body first through a book study group that referenced me to the fact that these courses had begun. And that was very exciting for me. I would say up to that point, I had almost been spiritually groomed on some level by my guides because I was already working with um, sound frequencies and I was working with soul travel, meditations into other dimensions. I was having clairvoyant experiences and all kinds of things that quite prepared me for my introduction to this work. And I just knew that it resonated with me, and I was so excited to get involved in it as well. Um, yeah, so yeah, I took the courses and I started teaching and so forth. So it was very, very helpful in my daily life as well. I worked on the front lines as an adult ESL instructor with refugees for years. So I was dealing with a lot of things, trauma and things that I was assisting them with. And yeah, I found it very useful. That's about it.
Yeah, well, thank you for that wonderful history. That was that was lovely for people to hear the some of those origins. So thank you. Um, yeah, and Dwayne kept that truck that he would go out and he would explore those power centers for many years. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that's
and I just wanted to add to that that it was during that period that his guide gave him both the names of the centers. So within those frequencies of those word symbols, there were awakening energies. So when you work with the sounds of the centers, they contain frequencies that help open and awaken the centers. So both
yeah,
the sounds and the names of the centers are very special and were channeled.
yes. And it was interesting because he was getting them and they were getting given to Dwayne by Daban and given to Aaron, to Sinea by Aaron at the same time,
Right.
which was
Yeah.
always a very wonderful thing. Um, yeah, so a little bit more about my story. So then I began to also I began to teach with Philip also the channeling classes, and I know many of you people here have come to the channeling. So so the light body, well, the channeling came first. So first of all, Sanaya was wrote the book, and they both kind of wrote that book together, but she was originally the channel, and wrote the book Opening to Channel. And and then um, and then from there, the light body came out of that, along with some other books. But so the light body evolved from that, and so for me, I was working with Philip. Philip was an absolutely amazing channel, and and so doing the light body, and then that supported so much of the work that I was already doing, and all the teaching that I was already doing. Um, the teaching of I was teaching more of the Taoist practices, but the light body very much supported that. And then the channeling, the light body takes channeling to another level. And then the shamanic Chinese medicine that I teach, um, it of course supports that, just because it is such an expansion of consciousness. And all of this inner work is about this expanding of consciousness into these higher realms. And this awakening series and these centers that we work with just really lead into this. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint.
Yeah, so I want to add to the expansion of consciousness that
Okay.
the light body path is a path of mastery. So you'll find that in all the volumes pretty well. Um, I think except maybe volume 3, there is a journey to the Temple of the Masters, and sometimes 2 journeys around mastery. So it's about mastery of the earth plane energy. So the regular everyday stuff in our lives, whether it's how we manifest the energy in our closet, or lay out food on a plate, or interact with our neighbor or son or daughter. We're bringing light on a level of conscious awareness into those situations and interactions. And so, in other words, we're holding peace, we're holding harmony, we're bringing that into the collective, a way of being that is outside of some of what we've been schooled in terms of how the ego might view um, an interaction, or a judgment, or payback, um, or whatever. So as you evolve these levels of yourself that are your soul and integrate them, you're becoming that. So we're moving towards human beings that are existing in a world, or will be able to exist in a world where competition and cooperation is more important than competition, and peace over conflict, and love over hate, or um, patience and kindness over impatience and intolerance, of everybody being respected, because it's not the body, it's the soul, the spirit within that body, that is really, really important. I mean, the body is a gift. I didn't mean it that way, but it's the spirit that is in command, that lights up those chakras, those meridians. It's that soul, that consciousness, that will at some point set that body aside, which is temporal, and continue on. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost some sound.
Oh, we could hear you. Okay. Sorry. This into. There we go. So a little bit more on this. Here we go. So why light body meditation? We'll say that this course has allowed them to have direct experiences of the higher states of consciousness that they've only read about and understood intellectually in the past. And so this is this doorway into these very highly revered states of consciousness. Um, and and there is transmission here. If it isn't transmitted, then it's still just an intellectual exercise. And so the thing with the light body is that it's real, that it's alive, and that it is a transmission that you receive that opens up these doors. And it is through these centers, through these sounds, that in the Awakening series, that we open these doorways. It does not involve a prior skill with meditation or higher states of consciousness. So that you don't have to have been a meditator before or anything like that, but simply a willingness to practice. And you don't have to practice a lot. This is actually over 6 months. And I think it's a total of 72 meditations in the series. And so it's easy to do in the course of 6 months to be able to do 72 meditations and to repeat those that you enjoy and really play in this whole experience. Be playful and inventive, and to make a commitment to your growth, to really opening up to something new, to a greater aspect of who you are as a soul, who you are as a being. And growth can be, some of it can be a little uncomfortable, but most of this is really a lot more fun and joyful than it is difficult. There are times when it might, open up some emotions and a doorway into something that's been sort of hidden, but ultimately that's going to make you feel much better. It just works in a very positive way, always. The light body is compatible with any the light body is compatible with and can strengthen and deepen your experience of any other spiritual practice and beliefs that you have. And so this is not a religion, it's not a cult. It is based on your experience. So no one's going to tell you that your experience is right or wrong, or what you should think or what you should believe. It is just doing this and experiencing. There are people who take light body from all over the world. We have Buddhists, we have Christians, we have Jewish people, we have people who are maybe more atheist. So there's a great deal of a variety of people, but mostly there's nothing to believe. And this is all about you do this and your experience is what matters. So there's not a belief structure. Just try it and see how it works for you. These are guided meditation journeys, which are always fun. Guided meditations, as opposed to sitting there quietly trying to quiet your mind, which is also something that I've done for a long time and actually really had some great experiences out of that, when you really do quiet your mind. But it's great to have these guided meditations. And it's because of the transmission aspect, because they are words that are on top of energy. So when I say transmission, that means that there's an energy that's being broadcast. And there are words, but the words are almost floating on top of the water, you could say, of the transmission that's going out. And you can just move, you can float on that, you can move on those energies. We have the two kinds of journeys. We have the Da Ben journeys by Dwayne Packer, that are more energetic and less visual, but they're still visual. But don't worry about visuals because you can be very, very kinesthetic and do extremely well in this. So you don't have to be able to close your eyes and see a screen in front of you and have it look like a movie and details and all of that. But we will use words. And so because we need to use words along with these transmissions, we may sound like you should be seeing things, but actually it's about just experiencing things in your own way. And people are kinesthetic, people are visual, people are auditory. And ultimately, with this, you become a sort of a synthesis of all of these things, which we call claircognizant. And so we really see, hear, and experience, feel and experience. So these are designed to be purely experiential and consciousness expanding. And so we have Oran Journeys by Sanaya Roman that work with the personality, the beliefs, and emotions to clear blockages and to support the expansion of consciousness. And so these are the ones that are really there to help at the sort of the mental and emotional bodies that Sharon was referring to help you move into more mental and emotional flow. So these are very much working with the personality to help you to be able to clear these centers and continually lift up and move into higher vibrational centers as we go through this. So this is all non-religious and has no belief system, and it can support someone on any spiritual path that they are on. And so it doesn't negate anything that you already believe. It's more supportive. So these teachings are transmitted as energies, which you can experience, and they will give you your own unique journey. And so there are very high beings, light beings that are connected to what we do. And when they work with you, you are unique. Each person is a unique consciousness, a unique energetic structure. And so they learn from each one that they are transmitting to, that each person who takes this course, they learn what works, they learn how to work with you. And by working with you, you help those who will come after, that they will also, that you will kind of open the door and make it easier for other people after you to receive these energies. And as I said earlier, the experience that we were having in, say, the 90s is very different from the experiences that we are having now. It's all become much stronger and much clearer. Anything you'd like to add to that, Sharon?
Um, yeah, the light body journeys contain beautiful background music that puts
Oops.
people into either an
Sorry.
alpha state or a theta state. An alpha is a more relaxed, but yet a little more alert state than a theta. Um, the theta is the state that you're in when you're about to fall asleep. So each each journey is supported by this brainwave entrainment of either alpha or theta. It comes from music that was channeled by either Michael Hammer or an angelic guide that Sanaya Roman channeled named Thaddeus, who brought you beautiful music through from the angelic realms that really opens your heart, harmonizes your emotions, opens your mental body to receive. And I think that's a very, very important part of something special that this particular course offers, along with what Wendy mentioned as the transmissions to each of us from the guides of Sanaya. These are beings of light. So if you happen to be a Christian or a Buddhist, It's not a conflict. These are masters of light on the inner planes. I mean, depending on your beliefs, but they're simply there. There are forces on the other side that are assisting humanity, um, and there's a lot of grace being given to humanity and Earth at this time, and we're under that breath or wind of grace that these beings are transmitting to us or holding us. Um, yeah, so they're at states of oneness where there are no dogmas, no religions, no spiritual clubs once you cross over. It's just truly source or God energy of complete love and acceptance and joy and playfulness and beauty, so many things, peace. Um, yeah, so there are the three components of the sound. One are the transmissions from Warren and Ben that are coming through the voices of Sanea and Dwayne, and the music that I mentioned. And the third are the names and the sounds that go with those names to the centers. And you will learn those and you learn to use them. It's really fun. And so you either sing or say those sounds as you're awakening your centers. And yeah, so I just wanted to mention that because I really like sound and have used sound in healing and personal healing practices. And yeah, so that's another component.
Okay, so in this class we have the centers. Um, and so on the bottom left is an image showing some of the lower centers, the first three centers. And the right image is going up through the higher, the middle, there's a middle center, and then up into the higher, it's called the vibrational energy body. And it's coming up into the higher centers in the lower right. And then in the center, this is a picture of the light body cocoon. So these are pictures, but I'd like to say that this is more what it feels like is is this kind of wonderful, blissful experience that that you can get into. So we can really feel this sense of expansion, this sense of love and light. So here we are. The energies are transmitted to awaken each of the centers. The power base is those first three centers. Then we do the heart center and then the higher centers. So those are three centers. And then the light body centers are when we go beyond this. And so these are more connected to the body. And you notice that that's 3 and 1 and 3 make 7. So they are located in the areas that we would consider to be the areas of the chakras, but they're happening at a different octave than the chakras. And so this is a sort of an expansion of the chakras, beyond the chakras. And so, and after this, we go into awakening your light body and taking that to another level, which we call becoming radiant. So the course is designed when students sign up for the course, you're sent the digital downloads, 74 meditations. There's also, which is 6 volumes. There are PDF files for the workbook for each of these segments. You also get the Zoom link for the classes. So for the students, the classes are usually, and they are every 2 weeks for 2 hours. And each time you'll get 2 live meditations plus lots of Q&A. So to keep up, students need to commit to a minimum of 3 meditations a week. And so basically you have to treat yourself to the wonderful experience of 3 meditations a week. So not too painful. It's actually very wonderful. It's how it works. So you need to do the meditations. It's what it's about, the meditation class. And here are our dates. And so these are the 6 volumes. And so there's two, you'll see there are 2 dates, and there's an extra day at the end. It's sort of like a bookend because when we start, but we also want to complete. So we need to have an extra get together at the very end of this too. So it's going to take us all the way into June. And remember, these are also all recorded. And we may also have, for people who really the time is not working for, that we may also be able to arrange some other times, some mornings that those people can come to as well. So we'll be working on all of these things to make sure everyone has good experiences. And we are 5 to 7 on these.
Can I just add a
Yeah.
bit, or would I? Well, I just want to say how incredibly grateful and impressed I am with the Light Body course because it's just so comprehensive. Um, it constantly guides you through in a very, very gentle way that builds you up. Um, so that as you raise yourself into more and more light, you're going to find that issues that are not at that frequency of the light, personal issues will come up and you'll recognize them. You'll have that insight. So each volume contains journeys that are lifelong processes. I use to this day subpersonality journey in volume 1, evolving your inner child, emotional release, self-healing journeys. You can actually learn. And I do this. I get cramps in my legs. I use the journey to, in my head, because I know it so well, very quickly I can get rid of those cramps and tell myself this, I am in command here. I'm the command center, and that's not in the light body. I just tell myself that, but I use the running of the energies to shift physical discomfort. In volume 2, opening your heart center, you awaken your inner healer. These are orange journeys in addition to the awakening of the heart center, which is called the Ranthia. Self-healing, staying neutral, setting a healing space for others. So they're wonderful journeys, not only for you, but if you're dealing with issues with family members, if you're a healer working with clients, you can set the energies in advance and you can work at many, many different levels. Volume 3, you learn because it's the working with the mental body, connecting in with universal mind, the mind of all that is. So you're transcending even the thought forms and the symbols that we relate to in terms of our understanding and communication. And you're opening creativity and receiving insights, maybe through a symbol, through a waveform, but it translates back into something real in your everyday life. And it's like, yeah, I see what's going on here. And yes, I have a solution, or I can see what I can do um, in this creative project or an idea. You journey to past lives. You learn to change your thoughts. In volume 4, you work on relationship issues, on abundance issues, expanding your aura so that you're in balance and you're connecting with all around you. Um, you're opening your channel. And in the next volume 5, you learn the principles of what it means to be a radiating flow of light. When we're coming just from the egoic conditioning, we tend to implode. We tend to go within, and it's a reverse flow. With the light body, we become this absolutely radiating flow of light, and we catch the higher wave, the higher frequency of the universe, almost of God, of the angels, of the cosmos. And you're very aware. So it's not just that you're blissing out, you're bringing this back in and through, and it's meaningful. And there's a lot of powerful processes. So Oren and Deben work together in this way. Oren's path is the path of self-realization, and Deben's is more the path of God realization, or realization of yourself at the levels of divinity. And again, all the volumes end with you are the master. You are the master, not the same journey, but different perspectives on what it means to live on earth plane from these levels of light, of insight, of peace, of vision, and envisioning as a master. And of course, it's an ongoing challenge. It's a choice every moment. I mean, because you do this course doesn't mean you're suddenly going to be enlightened and a master. It means that you've been raised into the experience of states of beingness and sensed and seen and felt sensed parts of yourself that are so expansive and illumined, that are just so amazing, that you never knew existed. And you've seen synchronicities occur, you've seen shifts occur in your everyday life, and it's very, very powerful. And you become, in that sense, in command, and you gain a sense of in command of yourself, and in alignment, in a positive way, in alignment with the higher forces of good, with your own divinity that you're here to be. You become a channel um, uh, for the divine, for your soul is here to develop this level of mastery. Anyway, thank you. That's an addition.
Well, I think we need to get into our meditations at this point.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Okay, I'm starting then.
Um, yes, I'll have you do yours and I'll do mine. And just going to get that sound here.
You want me to go in and see if I can?
No, can you hear this?
No.
Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Marie. Okay, so I don't want it to be too loud. Can you say a few things? Okay, can you hear me over top? Or you need to speak.
Yeah, I can barely hear the music, so just a little bit more.
Okay, we just have to get this right. Nick, how does it sound when she's speaking?
Sounds good.
Sounds good?
Okay. Okay, let's just begin by closing our eyes